Hello and welcome to my video on MBTI and crime, where I try to answer the question, which crime is your type most likely to commit? And before I get started, a short disclaimer. Of course, none of the things I'm about to say are based on facts or statistics, and very little research went into this video. So you have to just keep in mind that those are just my personal associations with the types, and don't take it too seriously. So let's get started. And due to current or recent events, I thought I'd start with the ESTJ, because the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about the crimes an ESTJ might commit was actually police brutality and the misuse of power. Well, this theme is actually gonna come up later again when I talk about the ENTJ, and I apologize in advance for the things I'm about to say about them. But I can just totally see an ESTJ person as being this kind of overly strict and merciless police officer with some kind of, I don't know, twisted traditionalist or whatever ideas in the back of his mind. So let's move on to the INFP, because for me they are somewhat on the other end of the spectrum, because I could see them as committing civil disobedience, even though that's not a real crime, I think. But I don't know, is it an offense or something like that? I know there are several categories that I'm not too familiar with, but that's not the point of this video. So I can see them like being the environmentalist that is not leaving the forest even though it's supposed to be cleared, and just tying themselves to the trees or something like that. And for the ENFPs, they might join the INFPs in that, but other than that, I can totally see the ENFPs as stowaways, for example on a big ship traveling across oceans, remaining somewhat hidden. I think that would be a really cool adventure that an ENFP would enjoy. And generally speaking, I think they could be good at obtaining services by deception, or like sneaking into buildings or parties or concerts just to get the full experience for free. That's what I see an ENFP doing. When it comes to the ENTP, I'd say they also could excel at many different types of fraud, just because they are so convincing and clever, and they can trick people into doing stupid stuff. And also ENTPs, of course, are known as being trolls who love to leave like mean or supposed to be funny comments on the internet, and that could of course also turn into cyberbullying. So that's another crime I would associate with the ENTP. Very similarly, the INTP, I think, would also be most likely to commit crimes with computers, like being a hacker, for example. So when it comes to the ESTP and the ESFP, I have to say those are the types that I associate with committing crimes the most. Like also different types of personal crimes and property crimes, for example, I associate them mostly with extroverted sensing, and as that is the ESTP's and ESFP's main function, I think they are capable of doing a lot of this stuff, and also have this kind of reputation, I guess. Like some of the ESTPs are known for being thugs. And so, just as some examples, those are, but actually from another category. And those are all the things involving drugs. Those are also the crimes that I think the SE types are very prone to committing. So for the ESTP, I wrote down drug possession and distribution, and of course something like disorderly conduct or disturbance of peace, I think it's called. I can totally see ESTPs doing that. And for the ESFPs, I wrote as an example, driving under the influence, after a long party night. The ESFP might not be the smartest when it comes to their choices in life. And another thing I thought would be kind of funny to associate with the ESFP was indecent exposure. You know what I mean, right? And so now let's move on to the ENTJ. And as I already said in the beginning, I'm terribly sorry about that, but the first thing that came to my mind when I thought of ENTJ crimes was actually war crimes and genocide. Like, I was brainstorming about this with my family, and I just said that like it was the most harmless and normal thing in the world. Oh, ENTJs, yes, they are probably committing war crimes and genocide and stuff like that. But of course, I was just thinking of those very few horrible dictators and tyrants that might have been or are of the ENTJ personality type, and not your ENTJ next door, because I guess there are also kind ENTJs out there, who knows. And another thing I could see ENTJs do is like insulting people, for example. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's called lese majesty or something like that, where you insult the what's it called? For example, the president or king or leader, I don't know, of another country where they have laws against that. And yeah, I can totally see ENTJs doing that, but on second thought, I think ENTPs might be even more tempted to do something like that. They might do it as a joke, and then it could backfire on them. So, speaking of war crimes and political crimes and so on, the one I associated with the INTJ was espionage, and of course, like not just in wars, but also like industrial espionage or stuff like that, you know, just they because INTJs love to research and investigate stuff, and I can see them as being this secretive and somewhat manipulative people that know how to gain the exact right or the important information and make good use or, you know, make use of it. But also for the INTJ as well as the INFJ. And so, as I am an INFJ, I know what I'm talking about here. We shouldn't underestimate, I think, the possibility of those types committing crimes of passion because of the inferior extroverted sensing that can sometimes, if it, for example, if it has been repressed for a long time, can, you know, make itself known by explosive bursts of rage, for example. So I can totally see uh, those types, you know, committing violent crimes, also like personal crimes, um, in the heat of the moment, so to speak. Yeah. Other than that, I thought an interesting crime for an INFJ to commit, and one many INFJs would probably be good at, is identity theft. Why? Because, as I, for example, mentioned in my other video about what the things that make an INFJ attractive is, that we can so intensely understand the way other people's psyches work and what they are made of, basically. And then we can also like integrate parts of their personality into our own self-concept, so to say, or just simply put, I think we are good at, if we want to, becoming somebody else and adapting their personality, basically. Yes, just by the way, I guess this thing is also the reason why the only Hitchcock movie that ever gave me nightmares was Vertigo, because it deals with this very theme. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out, especially as an INFJ. Okay, let's move on to the ENFJs. And one crime I thought ENFJs might be quite good at is blackmailing people. Why? Because they already know how to put emotional pressure on others and persuade them into doing stuff for them, or just doing stuff in general they maybe wouldn't usually do. And yes, and that's it for the ENFJ. But they might also revert to the thing I wrote down for the ESFJ, which is defamation or slander, because those two types, ENFJ and ESFJ, of course, with extroverted feeling as their main functions, are very very aware of and concerned with their reputation and with, you know, social dynamics and hierarchies and so on. And if they really want to basically hurt someone or destroy someone, they would definitely try to ruin their their status or their just their reputation. And ESFJs, you know, can be extremely kind people, but they also have a tendency to gossip, and gossip might be like one stage before defamation at worst. For the ISFJ, I really had to ponder for a while because it, like, similar to the ISTJ, those are the two types who seem least likely to commit any crime at all, because they are so, you know, nice and courteous usually, and like to stick to the rules. But then I thought, how about deprivation of liberty? Why? Because ISFJs can be very emotionally like clingy and dependent on other people, and they don't like to let go of things. So they might smother someone with their love. And so translating this into a crime, that was the best thing I could think of. The ISFP is known to be artistically inclined, so what did I choose as a crime for the ISFP? Of course, it would be art forgery. Makes sense, doesn't it? And for the ISTP, I thought piracy would be the perfect fit because, like literal piracy, as well as, you know, downloading and distributing music or movies or whatever illegally. But like I think literal piracy is even a better fit for the ISTP. I can like totally see them as being those grumpy, mean captains on a pirate ship or something like that. And yes, as I already said, I had a lot of problems finding a crime for the ISTJ, or at least an offense. So then my brother said, what about, you know, actually driving too slowly, because that can also be considered an offense, I think, in traffic, because of course this can also be dangerous. But the ISTJ, of course, would only do this because they are being very cautious and are trying to do everything right, and so it's just not a real crime at all. But yeah, that's my list, and I hope you liked it, and I'll see you, or you see me, in my next video. Bye.